Welcome back. It's the lawyer you know, and today we're giving a Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie update. We're going to talk a little bit about what Brian Laundrie's sister said in the media, how it may affect his parents, how it may affect his criminal case, and how it will affect the search for him. We will also answer some frequently asked questions at the end of the video that I keep getting over and over again in the comments in our live videos, and I'm just going to answer them here on a static video. So if you're wondering, will his parents get prosecuted? If you're wondering why we don't know what the autopsy report says, and more surrounding what her body looked like and what the cause of death was and things like that, I am going to answer those questions and more at the end of this video. Make sure you subscribe to our page so you don't miss any of this content. And if you're here for the Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie case and that content specifically, please make sure you like this video so we can know to bring more of this content into the future. And as always, in the comments, leave any questions you have. The more questions I get, the more I will answer them, the more videos I will do, and I'll make sure to answer these questions throughout our series of videos on this tragic case. So Brian Laundrie's sister was in the media over the last week giving interviews all over the place. She was saying that she has been cooperating with law enforcement from day one. She saw Brian Laundrie a couple days before he disappeared. They went camping or something, did something with her kids. There are pictures of it that they're playing in these interviews. He acted totally normal. She didn't realize anything was problematic until he was gone, and she wishes she would have known. She wishes she would have contacted law enforcement. She wishes she could have done something to stop him from disappearing because she's worried he may not be alive. She called him a mediocre survivalist, but that he would go for days at a time. I think she said up to 5 days on the Appalachia Trail, which is kind of confirmed with some of the reports that people have said. They've seen him there. They're adamant. One witness said he's 99.9% sure he saw Brian Laundrie there in Tennessee, and Brian Laundrie asked for directions to California. So there's some corroborating evidence that maybe he's not in Florida, but we don't really know. And she's just saying he could be out there. Nothing would surprise her at this point if he was surviving off the land or trying to disappear somewhere in some remote area in some state because of all this media attention. Now, some people are going to ask, do we think that her giving interviews to the media is actually helping him or hurting him? It seems like she is trying to help law enforcement. She is trying to be part of the solution. She is trying to locate him for his safety and for his benefit, but also because she said, like everyone else, she wants answers. Now, what does that mean? Does she want to know what happened to Gabby? Does she want to know what he did? Does she want to know if he has any criminal implications in this case? I'm not really sure, but she did say she wants answers, which I thought was kind of weird to do in an interview. Additionally, another weird move from her, she is definitely picking a side and trying to end up on the right side of this case because she said if her parents know anything, they should come forward and tell law enforcement right now. They should just give themselves up. They should confess to whatever they did and try to help law enforcement find Brian. She also said they should cooperate, and she said that she doesn't know if they're involved, which I thought was kind of weird. She could have just said, I couldn't believe they're actually involved, but maybe they are. But instead, she just said, I don't know if they're involved. And we have more reports of Brian's dad actually going to the 24,000 acres of marshland and preserve that they directed law enforcement to try to find Brian, and actually helping them look in certain locations that he frequented. And the lawyer for the Laundrie family has come out and said, this is not new information. They told law enforcement this from the jump. They have been cooperating. They told law enforcement where they think Brian is. They told them the spots that he was frequenting. They don't know for sure where he is, obviously, but law enforcement reached out again for more help from Laundrie's father. They went and picked him up, took him to that preserve so he could physically point out where Brian Laundrie liked to camp out or where he frequented when he would go to this preserve. He even said that the Laundrie's parents made themselves available earlier, and law enforcement actually delayed when Laundrie's parents went in person to help try to look for him in this 24,000 acres of marshland. So one of the questions that has to be asked is, why would police delay if Brian Laundrie's parents wanted to help try to find him? I think there's two main reasons this could happen. Number one, either law enforcement thought they were getting close. They thought they maybe found some signs or indications, and they didn't want his parents close because they didn't want them giving Brian any signals or letting Brian know they're getting close so that he could escape or do something like that. Or number two, they thought that Brian's parents would point him in the wrong direction. That's really the only reason I can think for delay. Or it just didn't work in their schedule and how they were searching with all the resources and law enforcement officers that were there. So I guess three potential reasons they would delay. But for the most part, I think they don't trust his parents fully, which is why they weren't so quick to jump when they had additional information that may be helpful. And they probably already looked in the areas that his parents talked about, but they figured, what the heck, at this point, we'll try to have them actually physically point it out to us and see if that would help. Okay, and then I've gotten a lot of questions, transitioning into the frequently asked questions section. I've got a lot of questions as to what the Laundrie's family lawyer is doing. Why is he texting and talking so much publicly? Why is he saying what his clients are telling him, breaking attorney-client confidentiality? So it seems, how can he possibly represent the family and Brian? All those questions come down to, he is allowed to talk to the media. He is allowed to even say what his clients say as long as they have given him clearance to do so. He is allowed to try to help them in any way he can. And sometimes that includes speaking to the media. But he's been saying some weird stuff, like when he was asked, is Brian going to be found back on October 7th? He said maybe. As opposed to who knows, or we don't know, or yes or no, he said maybe, as if there was some indication that it could happen that day, like he had some information, but we don't know. And that's what's been kind of weird, is cryptic, and it hasn't seemed very helpful how he's been throughout the process. Additionally, can he represent the family and Brian? Usually a conflict would arise, because they could be adverse parties. One could be a witness against the other. If it comes back, Brian didn't do anything wrong, but his parents did point law enforcement in the wrong direction, his parents could have some criminal liability there. And Brian could be a witness against them, and vice versa, obviously. They could be a witness saying, he did this, that, and the other. He asked us for this. He asked us for directions here. He asked us to lie for him. They could be witnesses against Brian. So usually a conflict would come up, but a lot of times with family, even in criminal cases, you can have conflict waivers where it's a knowing waiver that you don't care, you're going to be on the same team, you're going to have a joint defense, you're going to have a united front. We don't care what conflicts arise. We want the same lawyer representing all of us, and you can make that waiver. Sometimes judges will not allow it, but other times they will. So there could be a conflict waiver to where he could actually represent both, even though it's not advisable and not usually the wisest decision with something like this in a murder investigation. Another frequently asked question following along those lines is, will his parents be prosecuted? The only way I can see them prosecuted is if they committed an actual crime, like told law enforcement to go to this preserve when they knew he was in Tennessee, if they lied to law enforcement, if they destroyed evidence, if they obstructed justice. They're not going to go to prison or be criminally prosecuted if they didn't tell law enforcement when Brian left their house. They don't have to, when he's just a person of interest in a missing person investigation, they don't have to tell law enforcement when he comes and goes. He's an adult son. He doesn't even, frankly have to say he lives there. He can come and go as he pleases. That is not illegal. And the fact that they don't know where he went is not automatically criminal action. They would have to actually actively do something that was criminal in this case in order to have that criminal liability, not just say, my son came and he left and we didn't do anything to stop him. Nothing criminal in that. The next frequently asked question that we've gotten all over the place is, why aren't we finding out what the autopsy report says? Why don't we know more about the cause of death? Was it strangulation? Was it blunt force? What did he do to her? How did he kill her? That's what everybody wants to know. And I think the reason is pretty simple. Law enforcement, they love the help of the media. They love any help that they can get in solving a case like this, in bringing closure to a victim's family. But they are only going to let information out if they feel it will be helpful and not damaging to the case. So it seems to me at this point, law enforcement doesn't want to give any defendant, whether it's Brian Laundrie or somebody else, any indication of what they know at this point, so they can't plan their defense or say, oh, if she was strangled, look, I have nothing under my fingernails, different hand size, the glove don't fit, whatever it may be, blunt force trauma, I don't have, a hammer or whatever object was used. So there's nothing beneficial to letting that information out at this point. Yes, the media wants to know because a lot of people in the media and around the world just like to gossip and be in the know and what's going on in a case, not necessarily for helpful reasons. But I think that's the main reason they're not letting this information out, is they think it could do more damage than good to this investigation and to this case. And they're trying to do what's best for the Petito family and their closure. And that's probably why they're not letting out this autopsy information. Now, eventually they may. And eventually they may let out partial information, and we may not know everything that's going on. And the reason for that is a lot of times during investigations, there are certain parts you have to play close to the vest. You can't let it all air out, and you can't let the media know everything, because sometimes that can make bad things happen. The last frequently asked question is, how is this possible that it's taking this long to find one guy with no money who's not an expert survivalist, right? Well, there's a lot of different scenarios as to how this can happen. some former FBI agents are going on shows saying he's being taken care of, meaning somebody's housing him, somebody's paying for something, somebody's helping him hide out, right? One of the witnesses that swore they saw him said he was in a white pickup truck driving to California and he pointed him on the way to go. It's impossible to live with no food and no water, right? Unless you've ever watched any of the Survivor shows and you see that people do it in these terrible habitats for 40, 60, 90 days, they find a way. So he could be doing it that way. He could be a better survivalist than some people initially thought. Or he may no longer be alive. That has to be a scenario that we bring into play that happens in a lot of missing person cases. So there are a lot of different scenarios as to say, how is it possible that he has not been found yet, right? And we don't know, and we're not going to know until he is found. He could theoretically be out of the country. If he bought a plane ticket at that time, if he got a fake passport or a fake ID, he could be gone. He could potentially disappear. It seems impossible in today's day and age with technology and phones and red light cameras and the eye in the sky don't lie, but it is possible. And we're seeing that people can disappear for extended period of times, even when the FBI and the whole world is watching. So we're not going to know answers like that. There's no legal angle that's going to tell you how somebody can possibly disappear for this long. But if you have any questions we can answer, legally speaking, get in the comments, let me know, because we'll continuously do these updates as long as there's interest there in this comment, which you can let us know by liking this video and subscribing to our page. But for now, that's all we've got. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for watching this episode of The Lawyer You Know. If you like this content, please share it with your friends. Make sure you subscribe to our page and like our videos. If you want some interaction, get in the comments and we'll be sure to get back to you. If you want to know any more information about our firm or this page, you can find out in the description or visit tragoslaw.com. We post multiple times throughout the week, so make sure you hit that bell so you can get the notification and not miss out on the next episode.